r/AskReddit. Workers of Area 51. What is in there? There's a jetpack in there that a hippie would really like for you to steal so you can go jack some green goop from a freight train. Ah shit. Here we go again. I know a guy who worked there. It's just planes. I think you mean UFOs. His friend is definitely an alien. I skated in there on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. It was neat. Nice. Minecraft 2. Let MEINNNN. I knew IT. You cheeky bastards were hiding IT from US all along. But not anymore. It only exists for the sole purpose of keeping you from asking about Area 52. But what about Area 50? We are all forgetting the original area. What happened to Area 1? Hey man, I just cleaned the bathrooms here, but I've seen shit you wouldn't believe. What kind of shit? Alien shit. 50 progressively smaller areas, one inside the other like Matryoshka dolls. So you mean it is Russian base? Classified. Redacted. Data expunged. Nothing. Very boring. Please don't visit. Nice try, FBI. It's where all the missing socks go. Grandfather was stationed there for 20 years. He would never talk about it. Literally took it to his grave. My grandfather was also briefed and about to ship out there before he retired from the Air Force. The only thing he said to me about it was if there were any aliens there. They're all dead now. I was 12. Still the most ambiguous answer he's ever given me about his military career. Also he said they were working on the nuclear stealth bombers. It's mostly empty with a big airstrip. All of the facilities are super old and run down. Honestly, Area 51 is not the most secret area anymore, despite it being still classified as TSSBI with some C areas. Hey, you should classify this. Please don't post real pictures of Area 51 here. FBI may reach out to you anytime. The fuck? Real life anime girls. Now I know why you kept it secret. We would have invaded a decade or two ago. Are there cat girls though? Look, we're just normal people like all the rest of you. I put on my pants one zaflan at a time. Believe me, there is nothing special here. It's not like an alien race is slowly introducing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere to terraform your planet into a hotter climate so your ice caps will melt and decimate your population to give them a new home because Mars dried up due to our mass cultivation of its resources. It's just planes and stuff. Trust me. Fortunately, our handsomest politicians have come up with a cheap, last-minute way to combat alien-induced global warming. Starting in 2063, we will simply drop a giant ice cube into the ocean every now and again, ending the problem once and for all. This is purely speculation and guesswork, but I'm pretty sure my grandpa worked there on classified planes. He couldn't tell us where he worked or what he did specifically. Sometimes he had to stay overnight for a few days but couldn't say why, and sometimes he had to call and say he wasn't going to be home that night but would be home the next day. Stuff like that makes me think it was test flights that he had to be there for, as he's a plane mechanic. He also mentioned once that his security clearance was higher than the president. And when I asked why, he said his job was need to know and the president wasn't on the list. He said he had such a high clearance level that they called people as far back as 5 years old in preschool. Now IDK if that's normal procedure for a clearance level or not, but that part always struck me as some serious stuff. He had a paper route when he was 7 and they attempted to reach the owner of that company who had long since passed, but they got in touch with the spouse who was like 98 and asked her if she remember him and could report on his character. Crazy stuff. Grandpa was retired Air Force and pretty much worked for this place his whole career, and after he retired he became a civilian contractor doing the same thing. This comment has been removed by the CIA. Can confirm. CIA here. I know this is satire, but I've been working in Area 51 for 6 months now as a mechanic with the US Air Force. Fun fact, this actually counts as a deployment and I get extra pay for working at Area 51. There's really not much here. We used to use a base to test spy planes, but after it became popular in the media we moved spy plane testing to Area 52. These days the only interesting things on base are the Blockbuster, the Toys R Us, and the Martian Embassy. I'm sorry, what? There's a Toys R Us? Ah shit, this man's about to go Mia. There are a lot of joke answers in this thread. Here's a real one. My father used to work at Sandia National Laboratories, the government facility that's in charge of Area 51. He was a high-ranking scientist at one of their research and development locations, tasked with working on top-secret projects in the fields of metallurgy and materials science. When I, then a preteen with more curiosity than sense, discovered that he worked at one of the other areas, I wasted no time in interrogating him about extraterrestrials, spaceships, and all of those other concepts that I had associated with the notorious site. He answered my questions as best he was able, and even introduced me to a handful of people who had actually worked there in the past. I was, in a word, disappointed. Since its inception, Area 51 has been a location for developing and testing flight and ballistics technology. The idea that it housed aliens was started after a now declassified incident caught a lot of local attention. At the time, there was a fair amount of concern that hostile foreign governments would be able to derive some kind of usable data from the mishap. So when the idea that an unidentified flying object had crashed started making the rounds, nobody was in any hurry to deny it. They didn't really expect anyone to believe it, of course, and they didn't think it would actually obfuscate things. But it was a better option than saying we've actually been working on an airplane that radar can't detect. Furthermore, in a case of military personnel being just like the rest of us, it turns out that the people who were aware of the fledgling rumors thought that they were pretty funny. Now, granted, all of this is entirely hearsay, and it's not like I was cleared to hear anything classified. Even so, I'm much more inclined to believe a chuckle-filled description of something mundane than I am to accept a hushed wisp of a thoroughly debunked conspiracy theory, especially when the former is being offered by someone with first-hand experience of the matter. TLDR. My father used to work at one of the other areas. He, and other people, told me about Area 51. I'm late to the game here, so I might be buried, but it looks like I'm the only one here that's actually been to Area 51. I haven't been inside any buildings, but from the outside, visible parts, it doesn't look much different from any other Air Force base. But oh god, the flyovers. First off, the signs are terrifying and true, and I've received numerous warnings not to pass the warning signs, even in a government vehicle. My background: I worked for the US Fish and Wildlife Service, which manages a 1.3 million acre refuge known as the Desert NWR. It exists mostly for the study and benefit of desert bighorn sheep. The public portion of the refuge is small, and the hunting permit area is slightly larger, but there's a lot of off-limit land that acts as a buffer to Area 51. Even working under official government capacity, it was well known that you could be blown out of the water for being in the wrong areas. I mean, even the sheep have a decent chance of being murked, and they are. So don't try to sneak in dressed as a bighorn sheep. It'll end bad. Whenever I crossed the line, my heart would go into my throat. I've never seen combat, but I can guess that's the feeling you have the whole time. Thanks for watching, mate. Make sure to smash that like button for more high quality content.